I was getting really nervous there. I'm not gonna lie. I had that closed and it was not opening. I knew doing this bit that it was gonna happen at some point where I was gonna get locked in a trunk, and I just didn't want that to be today. But yeah, well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Car Juice. All right, so I'm not gonna lie, I did have to take a little bit of a break after that intro because I was very afraid that I wasn't gonna be able to get out of the trunk of this car. But yes, so this is the 2023 SL43 AMG. This car has a 375 horsepower inline 4-cylinder engine. It is turbocharged, which makes it so much faster. The cool thing about this car is that it also actually features an e-turbo, which mitigates a lot of the turbo lag that you would face in a otherwise turbocharged engine, especially whenever you just have a small little 2-liter 4-cylinder trying to crank out 375 horsepower. You need to find other ways around that. This one electronically spools up the turbo, hopefully mitigating some of that turbo lag, and I did find that this thing is relatively peppy, but it does still definitely feel like a 4-cylinder, but more on that later. Under the hood, you have a hand-built engine. That's kind of the thing with AMG, is that they have hand-assembled one-man, one-engine kind of setup. Also, instead of the typical Mercedes star, you do have a very cool Mercedes AMG logo there on the front. Harkens back to the AMG lineage, making this thing just that much cooler. The exterior of this car is moonlight white, which is actually a matte finish, so there's actually no kind of sheen to the paint. The interior is equally as spicy with the red pepper seats. The red pepper seats just look absolutely incredible. Probably the best part about AMGs is just how nice the quality of the interior of the car is. This one only has 500 miles and being for sale for $32,000 off of the original $117,000 MSRP for just $85,000 with only like 500 miles on it is kind of a deal. Well, that would actually begs the question of, should you pick up a used SL43 or should you pick up a new M340? That's actually what we're going to be aiming to solve in this video today. The steering wheel is another one of the very, very nice quality accoutrements inside of this beautiful Mercedes. The AMG steering wheels are so nice. They've got a nice little flat bottom to them, the highest quality leather you've ever seen, and nice little perforations here for your hands. The paddle shifters are kind of the perfect size, and they're very clunky and expensive. They feel purposeful. And then the top of the door cards are also all wrapped in leather. You also have a leather wrapped dash, and even in the back seat you have a leather pull handle in order to get into that back seat. The back seat is essentially just for luggage and such, as I'm only 5'8" and the driver's seat is put in my driving position, and this is what I look like in the back seat of this car. My head is completely touching. The back seat is basically not usable, which on a Z4 it doesn't have a back seat, so I guess that's kind of a point for the SL43, because like you could force your very small friends to sit in the back, but you know, no headroom whatsoever, and then my legs are completely splayed out to the sides. Thankfully though, in the back seat you do have some nice quality leather still on the top of the roof, and then you have these little small windows which you can control all 4 windows just like on the Z4 at one time. They do that a little bit differently on this car. You have a button to toggle if you want all the windows to go at the same time or not. That back seat is just absolutely laughable, which is kind of cool. With the Z4 you have a single button that can actually control all 4 windows, which is a little bit different. Like the Z4, you do have a hard shell, which is going to keep people from being able to cut into your top, making it a little bit more secure. People aren't going to be able to like get in and steal your stuff quite that easily, just because some of this is going to be insulated, which also reduces on some of the extra wind noise. The top is capable of going down in about 14 seconds, making it very practical and fairly daily drivable. You saw in the intro of the video, but I was able to comfortably fit into the trunk of this thing. The trunk is full power and it opens and closes very quickly. And even with the top up or top down, you're gonna have a pretty decent amount of storage. I was able to fit in here pretty much no problem. And then the power trunk opening and closing so quickly is also very nice. In the back, you're also going to have a active rear spoiler, which you can change with the push of one button, and then LED taillights in the rear, signature Mercedes look on the back end of the car. The exhaust pipes have the little AMG logo there, making it that much cooler. Just kind of, in the case if you forgot what you were driving, you've got the AMG logo even on the exhaust pipes, and then a full blacked out, non-carbon, piano black finish diffuser. The rims on this car are AMG kind of multi-spoke design. You're going to find these on pretty much all of the AMG models. 19-inch wheels on all four corners, 285/40 19s in the rear, and then in the front you've got 255/45 19s. So a little bit more beef there in the front than in the Z4, and then in the rear the 285s are nice and wide, but not crazy or anything like that. The styling on this car is also one of its strongest suits. This thing is just styled just stunningly. It's a very wide car. It has this like gravitas to it. You wouldn't even know that it had a 4-cylinder under the hood if you just walked right up to it. It also sounds pretty darn good for just being a 4-cylinder engine. The reason for this styling is that it has the same styling kit as the SL43 AMG and the SL43. The SL43 is capable of going 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. The SL43 is right at 3 seconds, and then this guy's at 4.5, which is not bad for a 4-cylinder by any means. Also, something very cool on the exterior of this car is you get these super cool doors that are all electronic. Whenever you lock the car, the handles just tuck right inside of it. Whenever you want to open it back up, you just touch the handle, and then the vehicle is going to let you in. But before we go ahead and get into the car and take this thing on a bit of a quick drive, I do want to get you guys a lukewarm start. Again, not too terribly shabby for a 4-cylinder, pretty darn loud, I would say, but yeah, definitely does not sound like a V8. Would be pretty cool to pick up a SL55 or an SL63 to hear that little bit of a louder grunt. Speaking of which, if you'd like to hear that grunt, you can probably find that video on my channel. About, how many years ago was that at this point? About a year and a half, 2 years ago, I did a review on the GTC AMG, which was a sick car. To this day, probably one of the best sounding exhausts that I've ever heard on a car ever, and I've worked at BMW for several years now. So, you know, just one of those things. I'll plug it down in the description of the video so that you guys can check that out. But without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and put you guys over here on this window, and then I'm gonna put another version of you guys over on this window, and we're gonna take this thing on a bit of a drive. All right, so on the interior of the SL43 AMG, you are going to find yourself in probably the most luxurious convertible interior that you can find on the market. Mercedes does luxury interiors pretty much better than anybody else. There are a couple of quirks that I'm not a huge fan of in this car, but for the most part, this is a very, very, very nice convertible interior, especially. The only thing that I wish that this thing had was a little bit more quietness in the cabin. Whenever you're going for like a luxury convertible like this, you usually are trying to prioritize for at least a little bit of road tripability, and this thing is a little bit noisy even whenever you're just at like a regular idle like this. You can still hear the engine. Let's get into some specifics before we take this thing out on a quick spin. I mentioned earlier, you have tons of leather all around the top of the door cards, all along the dashboard, all along the seats, and these seats are pretty darn comfortable. They're adjusted on the side of the door. They are fixed, and basically you just use like a haptic feedback so that you can move the seat around, forward and back, and all that kind of good stuff. The Mercedes steering wheel is absolutely tremendous. The AMG steering wheel is like the perfect size. I love the paddle shifters. They're heavy, they're premium, and they're just really good. In order to quickly change all of your different drive modes, you can just select a couple of different modes here on the steering wheel, which makes it quick and easy and just very livable to have to adjust anything that you want to do at any point in time. The Burmeister sound system has a good range of both highs and lows, and it's very, very high fidelity, but this screen here in the center is a little bit weird. It does feature like wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is great, but the shape of it's weird, and the fact that you have to like tilt it and move it around I don't know. I wish that it was maybe just back a little bit more towards the dash and not quite so up in your face. There's a lot that you can do with it. The climate control is controlled directly through the screen, which is a little bit weird, but you know, like, we can live with it. Let's go ahead and take this thing on a little bit of a drive, shall we? And I'll get into a little bit more here in just a second. So we are gonna just go ahead and drive this thing in Sport Plus, because that's how you drive a Mercedes AMG. I was driving this thing around in kind of like that comfort mode earlier, and it was pretty reasonable. It's just a nice, quiet, smooth ride. I just can't believe that this thing with 500 miles on it has already depreciated $32,000. Like, you can pick up a lot for that. This thing gets decent fuel economy for being a 4-cylinder. It's able to probably get a little bit of a better fuel economy than, say, what a Z4 would be able to do. However, I'm not as sure about like long-term reliability whenever it comes to the Mercedes M139. But that doesn't mean that it's not a fun car to drive. It's very quick with that 4.5 second 0 to 60. The DCT, not the DCT, the 9-speed automatic transmission downshifts very aggressively. It's snappy and it sounds great between shifts. Kind of staying in that rev range, it's cool, but it does feel like you kind of rev out to the top of it very quickly. 4 cylinders just rev really, really fast. And the oversteer is like pretty playful as well. I'm too afraid to drive this thing with traction control kind of limited, but I could see with the traction control turned off that it would be very, very fun. I love rear wheel drive cars. They're always just, you know, a little bit more fun to drive around town and that kind of stuff. And like, dude, the downshifts are very snappy on this thing. As long as you shift right before you hit red line at 7,000 RPMs, it's pretty fun. And I do really like the digital gauge cluster. This is like a really very sharp and very vibrant gauge cluster that's easy to read, which does make it really, really kind of nice to keep up on all that other good stuff. Touching on a little bit more of that Mercedes quality, you do have heated, ventilated, and neck warmers on these seats. So the seats are very, very adjustable and very easy to make it so that you can live with it without too many issues. Whoa, just hit a little bit of a water patch and this thing started struggling for traction. The downshifts are kind of snappy. It doesn't sound near as sharp or as jarring as the Mercedes kind of V8 does. That is just like one of the coolest exhaust notes, but it does feel very distinctly AMG, and it's pretty fun. So like, as far as driving goes, if you're looking for like a smoother ride than what a Z4 and a little bit less raw, I think that the SL43 is actually like a pretty valiant competitor. You've got good technology. The top being able to go up and down in about 14 seconds makes it pretty livable, and it's not like you're in like an antiquated car. Most cars nowadays are between like 11 and 14 seconds. There's no kind of weird things that you have to do in order to put the top up or down. This one does not have a heads-up display, but it does have adaptive cruise control, which will make it very easy to drive around on like a long road trip. Bit of pops and burbles. It sounds like little 4-cylinder burbles are a little bit quieter, but overall pretty fun car to drive. Definitely would recommend at least taking one out for a test drive and checking it out before you end up picking up the convertible of your dreams. But that's pretty much where I'm gonna leave off. This is the part of the video where I end up parking the car, and I will tell you that the cameras on this thing are really good. It's very easy to kind of predict and see where you need to go whenever you're backing up. The shifter is up here on the column, just like all of the other Mercedes, and the camera quality is really nice. This one just has like a regular backup camera. It's still pretty accurate as far as like tracking and trying to use it to help you back into a parking spot. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. Hopefully you learned something, and if you guys did enjoy it, please do consider hitting the subscribe button. I'm trying to take this thing full time at some point. I don't know when that's going to be, but if you guys are looking for a nice used or new car, hit me up at BMW Cincinnati North. Ask for Caleb. I'll see you guys later. Deuces.